Senior year is months away for the class of 2025, but there is some finality looming with the last summer of their travel careers. But let's not get wistful. This is all about opportunity. Welcome into another Coffee and Curveballs. Cory McCartney and Shooter Hunt with you as always. And Shooter, for the 2025s, what lies ahead is a chance to increase their stock on the biggest of stages and against arguably the highest concentration of talent that most of these players will see to wrap up their prep careers. Basically, own the summer and the rewards will follow.
Yeah, it really is. And it's one of those interesting dynamics where a lot of the scouting community professionally, this will be their first introduction to these guys. Not only their first introduction, but also a huge amount of value that gets placed on their performance throughout that summer. So it's one of those things where we followed this guys for 3 years. Now we get a chance to jam a lot of action into 3 months, and we're excited about what's going to come.
The conversation starts at the top where there's a jockeying for position for the number one spot. That's been held by Ethan, latest in the Holiday lineage, but the Oklahoma State commit is just one of a number of stellar shortstops that are vying for the throne because this is a position that dominates the top 100 between Holiday, Brady Ebel, Coy James, Xavier Nyans, Quentin Young, Kason Cunningham, Billy Carlson, Eli Willits. Shooter, how difficult is it trying to separate these players at shortstop?
I really think we value the shortstop premium position, premium value when looking towards pro ball. This class in particular, the amount of position players has just really jumped off the page. And again, this summer will dictate a lot of the separation of these guys. Right now, there's groupings of these players. Not a lot of pitching at the top right now, which is to be expected. A lot of guys will blow up throughout the summer. We'll talk about some of those guys in a bit here. But like Ethan Holiday, who's been our number one for a while here, obviously son of Matt Holiday, brother of Jackson Holiday, he is his own man up there. He's different than Jackson, bigger physical frame, more power at this point and juncture in their similar careers. Probably better hands on the infield is something that I see out of him, but he's definitely a different prospect. Should not be compared to his brother, should not be compared to his dad. He's his own dude. He's still number one. Love the power projection that he shows. But this entire class of shortstops, who's going to be the guy? Brady Ebel, kid who got a late start this spring because of a transfer to Corona High School there in Southern California, but one of the best eyes in the class, can really track, can stick at shortstop long term, can play all over the diamond, really competitive, will hop on the mound at times and do his thing, can spray it all around, physical frame, also one of the younger players in the class. You talked about Coy James, who we saw at the All-American game last year, dynamic athlete who has made those jumps over the last year, where we saw him in the fall, wiry athlete. He's gotten stronger. I think the power and freaky athleticism they showed there is starting to come together and polish up. I think he has a chance to jump in. That 25 North Carolina class is dynamic, especially after this year, kind of a down year in North Carolina. Xavier Nyans out of the Pacific Northwest, probably more of a third baseman when it is all said and done, but he's up to 94 on the bump. He's got the frame that fills out. He checks a lot of boxes, left-handed stick. He's going to hit for power. Huge projection there. You brought up a couple guys who reclassed from 25 or from 26 to 25. Quentin Young and Eli Willits. Willits is the more recent one from Oklahoma, but Quentin Young, whereas leaving the end of last summer thinking, hey, this guy might be a first rounder in 2024 if he was able to come and reclass up 2 years. So big right-handed stick. It's easy to dream on, moves around well for the size of his frame. He's super nimble. Another one probably shifts to third base, but that power profile is what's going to play. Willits, switch hitting shortstop. Again, end of the summer last year, looking, this guy might be the best player on the field amongst a bunch of big-time prospects. Kind of reminds me, hey, this is a switch hitting Anthony Volpe. Not to throw that on him, but that's the way he moved around the field at the same age. Everything came easy. You want this guy up in a big spot. He's going to do stuff on the base paths. He can really move at shortstop, gets rid of it in a hurry. Kason Cunningham, who is blue collar, gets after it, doesn't get cheated. I don't know if I've ever seen Kason Cunningham not hit a double or a triple. Every time he steps to the plate, there's some electricity. He's not getting cheated. He's fearless in the box. Oh, yeah, he can also do it at shortstop. Not the biggest frame, but again, undersized is the new 6'4". We've had some great dynamic prospects out of Texas. Think Jet Williams, smaller, compact frame, who has first-round potential. I think Kason Cunningham is in that conversation as he goes into the summer. And then Billy Carlson, who has had a great spring, sticking at shortstop at Corona. Also, another guy who's hopped on the bump. He's one of the premier right-handed arms in this class as well. Huge spin metrics. But the bat has really come along. And last year was kind of feeling for working the opposite field. The power is starting to click. He's starting to get stronger. It's still a projectable frame. I'm excited about what Billy Carlson has to bring. And now I'm out of breath because there's so many shortstops.
I want to ask you though, with Holiday, when a player has been at the top of the heap so long, does there become a situation, I don't want to call it fatigue, but when things kind of start to get nitpicked in a different way and it creates an opportunity for others? Or is it just that difficult for anyone else to supplant him because the game and the place at top of the heap has been so solidified?
I do think that there is prospect fatigue in the scouting community at all times. We've seen this guy forever. You can look to 24, Bryce Rayner. There was some prospect fatigue, I think, in the industry, not from us, but he's a guy who's likely going to go in the top 10 picks here in a couple weeks or so. But yes, just ignoring the fact that we've seen this guy so many times. The skill is still there, the tools are still there, the high ceiling is still there. It's one of those where you just kind of got to sit in your hands and say, you don't have to do anything. He's going to develop at his own pace. He has that upside. Let him do his thing. But again, most of these guys are situated in a grouping. More so, hey, 1 versus 3, 1 versus 7. Hey, they're in a group. Let's see what they do.
Well, beyond that group that we're talking about, some more shortstops that are making their own case. Tennessee-bound Carson Brumbaugh of Oklahoma, Nevada's Ethan Klaus, a Texas A&M recruit, and a player that we're going to get into a little bit more later when we talk helium candidates in South Carolina commit Will Craddock out of the Palmetto State.
Yeah, and I mean, there's more than a quarter of our top 100 are shortstops, and there's still more who are labeled as third baseman. But Brumbaugh's a guy in Oklahoma who's kind of playing that second fiddle to Ethan Holiday, where he really isn't. He'd be number one in any other year. It's crazy metrics. I think guys are going to love the bat speed, the hand speed, how the ball jumps off the bat, big arm on the infield. I think he has a chance to catch some serious helium this summer with a strong output. Kind of reminds me of a kid, Max Muncy, who came out of Southern California. The A's took in the first round in 2021. Ethan Klaus, who's a personal favorite, sweet left-handed stroke, was able to slow things down at the plate. I think he's got huge upside. I think he's a guy who could be the industry and us especially could be buzzing about at the end of the summer. And then Will Craddock, a standout at our last year's PBR Future Games. I don't think he knows how good he is yet and how good he can be. So it'll be exciting to follow what he can do because the frame is unteachable. He's got crazy athleticism. And I think there's definitely more power in the bat from the right side.
So let's carry Craddock into helium then, because everybody wants to end their summer with it. And you've put together a list of helium candidates for the months ahead. Let's kind of talk criteria here because there's 5 players on your list that are currently in the top 100, all the way down to another player who isn't even currently in the national 500. So how did these players get on the radar?
Well, you have to understand at Prep Baseball, we have tons of scouts on the ground, from our scouting directors to assistant scouting directors, just the infrastructure that we have and information flowing through. We have tons of it, the most in the industry. Nobody has the hyper local access that we have. So when I'm going through the information that our guys are having, the meetings that we're on discussing these players, at certain points and junctures, I'll put little notes in like, I like this guy a lot. I think this guy has a chance to jump up. So that's kind of where this helium list comes from going in the summer. We did it last year. Chris Lavonis was actually on it last year. So he's definitely found that helium. But these are the 25 that I'm kind of eyeing. Now there's definitely more that are going to come, but this is the list we're going with.
Craddock is the #1 player in South Carolina, 33rd in the nation. We talked about him a little bit, but how much higher do you feel like he can climb?
Well, at that aspect, yes, he's already known in South Carolina. He's the #1 player. When we're looking at the helium of him, it's from going from 33 into that top 10. Hey, he has the physical profile, the attributes, chance to stick on the left side. At the end of the summer, we could be talking about, hey, how could you guys have this guy ranked so low at 28 or 30, whatever he is in the country right now? How could you not have him in the top 10? Because we're looking at him as a potential first rounder. So that's kind of what we're eyeing with him. Although he's got a long way to go right now, he's going to continue to polish up, and he's still got some things to prove.
According to my Google search, 1 in roughly 47,000 people around the world had the last name Blair. So with one out of Florida and the other from California, I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that Alec and Eli Blair are not related, but they both share space in the current top 100 nationally. Eli, the lefty arm out of Florida, the Florida commit, 38th, and Alec, uncommitted outfielder out of California, 67th in the class. Why could they both be in for big summers?
They both have similar profiles too. In fact, they're about 6'6", 6'7", square shoulder, wiry, still growing into their frame. Eli Blair is a guy who stood out at our future games last year before committing to the University of Florida. It just moves easy on the bump. He's kind of that baby giraffe, still growing into his frame. The stuff we saw at the future games last year, he's jumped up now into the low 90s, still connecting and finding out movement patterns. But should those movement patterns come and get more confidence in them in repeating, he's got that high upside that you just can't teach. And then Alec Blair, who is an absolute bucket on the hardwood. He could play at many big Power Five schools as a basketball player. I think many of them do want him to do both. But his left-handed stick, there's rawness to it, but there's big power potential. Obviously, a supreme athlete, and he's got some moxie on the diamond where he steps on there expecting success. I think he's got a chance to really develop and shoot. De La Salle's produced some big-time hitters in the past.
Down here in Georgia are two top 100 recruits that rep the Peach State in the future games. That's right-hander Eston Simpson, most valuable pitcher, by the way, before committing to Clemson, and Georgia-bound lefty Jackson Peavy. I've spent time with both of them. The makeup's undeniable. They've clearly shooter proven that they can produce under the bright lights.
Yeah, Eston Simpson's one of my personal favorites. It's a starter profile. I still think he's not at the we expect from a Georgia kid, be super polished. They're playing all the time. He's not quite on that level, which is exciting about his potential and high ceiling. Moves really easy. Ball comes out of the hand, can spin it, multiple pitches for strikes. That's something you like. Obviously, he's from Georgia, which produces just so much talent. He's definitely a big one that I'm excited about. Who was the other name you said? Sorry.
Jackson Peavy, the Georgia commit.
Talking about spin, Jackson Peavy can absolutely rip off some bangers. Left-hander, huge hands. I think he's going to continue to get bigger. Had a big spring. There's a chance we're talking about a guy like Jackson Peavy. He's a southpaw. Eli Blair. Those left-handed arms that are of premium value professionally. Those guys have a chance to really rise. And I think Peavy could be one of those dudes this summer.
Staying on the mound, you've got four more pitchers who are currently outside the top 100, a pair of Hoosier commits out of Indiana and righty Matthew Fisher, lefty Alex Barr. East Carolina-bound Sean Jenkins, a right-hander from North Carolina, and Texas righty Cade Nelson, a TCU recruit. You want velo. These guys have got it to spare, especially Jenkins, who was up to 95 just last week and follows it with an absolute hammer of a curveball.
Yeah, a little preview. You're giving a sneak preview into these guys jumping into the top 50 here in the country as we release going into the summer. But Jenkins, a lot of the times we go through the big four, right? Georgia, Florida, Texas, California. I like to look to North Carolina as there's going to be a guy coming out of there. The area scouts do such a great job. The talent seems to blossom late. Sean Jenkins has a chance to be that dude. It's a huge class, especially right-handed arms coming out of North Carolina. Sean Jenkins has that breaking ball that can get those swings and misses. Tons of value there. Obviously, the arm talent has brought him up into the mid-90s. Probably going to expect more of that throughout the summer. Really excited about what he has to do. Matthew Fisher, another guy who we're pushing some chips in on. He looks like he might be the top right-hander in the class. A little bit older right now, but it is ultra polished, 3-pitch mix, swing and miss stuff. He moves it around and he can command the fastball, which has excellent traits right now. Is something that we're really looking at. So it's going to be a talented group of right-handers eventually showing themselves throughout the summer.
On the two-way front, you've got your sights on Kansas State commit Connor Essenberg from Lincoln Way West in Illinois, a guy whose game and demeanor just absolutely scream swagger.
You know what? That you hit the nail on the head right there. What we love about Essenberg is not just the metrics, right? Oh, this guy hit 98. This guy, that's easy. You can see that stuff and piece through. How is this guy going to do when the limelight's there and the bright lights are on? And Essenberg's a dude who just steps up, craves that attention, wants to play big in big games. Whether it's going to be as a hitter or a pitcher, we'll see. But it's a big physical frame. He is not scared. My man gets up there and takes daddy hacks. So I'm excited to see what Essenberg does this summer. I think he's going to have a good chance to rise throughout the next year.
We had Connor in Lincoln Way West at Lake Point Sports for the spring break experience. He got hit in the foot ankle area by flamethrowing Parker Van Englenhoven. Essenberg went to the turf for a while. I mean, you almost thought for a moment that something was really wrong. It wasn't just that Connor stayed in the game. He nearly legged out an infield hit. So toughness absolutely belongs on the scouting report when we're talking about Connor Essenberg. So just fantastic stuff out of him.
Noted.
There, as far as infielders, you're circling two future game alums in shortstop John Sticer, Florida State commit from Georgia, and Trevor Gottsiegen, Iowa recruit out of Colorado. Also, Logan Hama, a USC commit from Hawaii, and a very interesting player who isn't currently in the national rankings, in Alabama-bound Will Ryan, shortstop from Maryland.
Yeah, looking at Steitzer, he's kind of built his way into get ready for this dude. Right-handed hitting, shortstop, going to play somewhere in the infield. Also a big-time football player from what I hear. So obvious athleticism. And he's kind of got that blue collar, straight edge. I'm going to just get after it at all times. No glitz and glamour. But the fact that his bat the ball skills there's power, jumps off, works gap to gap. I think he has a chance to be the it guy of the summer, especially for those Georgia scouts who are craving some guys in this 25 class. You talk about Trevor Gottsiegen out of the state of Colorado. It's a premium athlete. We saw all the dynamic tech, what they showed from his performance at the future games. He's only gotten better. He's had a huge spring in the state of Colorado. Very excited about what he's going to be doing this summer. Logan Hanma, who talking with our guy Dan Cox there in Hawaii. Hey, how excited should we get about this kid? Because this Hawaii 25 class is outstanding. You're talking about Bruno Agbayani leading the way there. But Hama can really swing it. He plays hard, left-handed bat. Excited about what he's going to be able to do. And they talk about Will Ryan. Just the same way I'm speaking about North Carolina, the DMV area has just churned out some dudes who catch helium, even as late into the spring next year. When going back, James Triantos, especially looking at Jackson Merrill right now, James Wood. There's a whole group of guys who've done a great job. I know the baseball's been good there forever, but it's finally getting paid for how good it is. Will Ryan, left-handed hitter. Not quite on that Jackson Merrill level right now, but it's a sweet stroke. Plays hard. I think he's going to have a chance to really hit from the left side. So he's a guy that I'm circled as wanting to follow throughout the summer.
I caught up with Steitzer ahead of the high school season. He was also, as you mentioned, football, co-region player of the year for football. So just an absolute athlete. We're talking about him at shortstop, but he plays just about anywhere. Kid just told me his absolute favorite thing is just running the bases. So this is the guy who just wants to go out there and just be physical on the field. Finally, a trio of outfielders in Kentucky commit Braxton Van Cleve from Texas, Georgia recruit Nick Diaz out of Florida, and Wake Forest bound Jordan Serrano from New York. Like Lightning McQueen, Jordan Serrano is speed. He ripped off a ridiculous 6'3" in the 60, which that calculates to just over 31 feet per second in MLB terms. That's better than what Bobby Witt Jr., the fastest player in the game, is averaging. So, I mean, Serrano can absolutely scoot.
I mean, he's got thunder in the barrel too. I think this New York class is outstanding for 25. I think there's a chance we're talking about Jordan Serrano as the #1 player come the end of the summer. Outfielder, can really hit. Ball jumps off. There's just something different when you listen to the way that he does it at the plate. Obviously has that speed there, plays hard. So really excited about him. But this whole group you're talking about right now, they're kind of all freaks. Nick Diaz, another standout in the future games, like you said. What I love about Nick Diaz is that he's gotten better. Over the last year, he's stepped up his game. He's at Stone and Douglas. The lights are on at all time. They're getting everybody's best bolt. And this dude's swing looks even better than it did a year ago. Really excited about the future of where he's going. Braxton Van Cleve, we talk about all these two-sport guys. QB1, we'll see how long he's playing quarterback after this summer, because I think this could be the breakout summer. He wrapped up things last year where, hey, you got to circle his name because the upside's there. Another guy who's the ball sounds different off the bat, Kentucky recruit, can really play. He's got some unteachableness about him. Braxton Van Cleve's a guy that I've circled. We've moved up pretty prevalently going into the summer to say, hey, this guy's got a chance to really elevate his level down in Texas. Somebody does it every year. Bro, why not Braxton Van Cleve?
Well, as you can tell, the class of 2025 is ready to make some noise in the final summer of the travel circuit, and we will be here for every step of the way on Coffee and Curveballs. Until next time, I'm Cory McCartney. He's Shooter Hunt, and we'll see you at the Diamond.